It's Masters Week, Augusta National Golf Club, the first major championship of the new year, and what many would argue is the most prestigious of all four major championships. And this time, it's a Masters with a big difference, a big void. For the first time since he started playing major championship golf, Tiger Woods, the world #1, winner of 4 green jackets and 14 major championships, will not be at Augusta National to compete in the Masters. Justin Parsons joins me from the Butch Harmon School of Golf as ever. JP, what's your reaction to that monumental news, Tiger not playing the Masters?
Well, I think it's a tough call for everyone involved in the game. Tiger's been such a legend over the years and has provided us with so many great moments at Augusta National. The chip in over the back of the 16th green, as you say, a winner of 4 green jackets, and it's a sad omission for the tournament. I think that he'll hopefully come back stronger. He'll hopefully come back with a bang towards the latter part of the season. But we'll have to digest what's going to go on with this tournament without Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he's had an operation to rectify a pinched nerve in his back that was bothering him way back in the FedEx Cup playoffs of last year and has flared up. Didn't play particularly well this year, only had a tie for 41st as his best finish in all the tournaments that he'd played, full field events that he'd played this year, but couldn't recover in time to get fit for the Masters. JP, where does this leave him in terms of the chase for the 18 majors? Is that now game over for Tiger?
It's gonna be much more difficult for him now. He's won a major tournament on a really bad left leg. He's had some further issues with that left leg over the course of the last couple of years. He's had some issues, in different parts of his back, and now this has manifested itself with this pinched nerve in and around about his T-spine area. And, when they start going in and they start, surgical procedures on any part of the body, it's always a little bit risky, but once they start going in and doing things in the spine, it's going to be tough for him to be as explosive as he was before, and he's going to have to find different ways to win tournaments. I don't think we're going to see the same speed, we're not going to see the stinger, we're not going to see some of the shots that he's synonymous for, but he's a great champion. He's got the most drive, I say that a lot, the most drive of any player in the game, and you never know, he might find ways to win these events.
Okay, well, we're all hoping that Tiger makes a speedy recovery and comes back to at least take part in some of the major championships towards the bulk of the season, but he will miss the Masters. And while it's a huge loss, this is still the Masters. It's still Augusta National. It still has a magic all of its own with or without Tiger Woods. We have to look really at those guys that are going to step up now in his absence, the likes of Adam Scott, the defending champion, someone who's got a genuine shot at reaching the world #1, Rory McIlroy, former world #1, 2-time major champion, and he's been showing some great form this year, having had a really terrible 2013 season. So we also have to look at Jason Day, I suppose, JP, the winner at the Accenture Championship just a couple of months ago. I know he's battling a thumb injury, but for me, and I guess you as well, those are the 3 names that stand out as favourites.
I think those are the 3 favourites. The young breed of players now beginning to establish themselves. We've seen Scotty do very, very well over the last 3 to 4 years in major championships. We've seen Rory, of course, blow some fields away, and we're seeing Jason Day a real rise to prominence as a major player. So, it's been interesting. Jason's got some sort of thumb injury which continues to niggle him. Rory's had some issues closing out the tournaments here in Dubai. Perhaps the Honda was the most recognisable one that he should have won, and then Adam Scott did the same sort of capitulation. So it's interesting. There's lots of little subplots going around. There's no one who's really sticking his head out of the pack as a clear favourite. So it'll be very interesting to see who comes out on Sunday evening.
Yeah, if you look at those guys and their records specifically at Augusta, which we know is a course that suits certain players and really doesn't suit others. Adam Scott has had a fantastic track record in recent major championships. In the last 2 years, he's had 4 top 5 finishes and a further top 10. Rory McIlroy, not so much at Augusta. Should have won in 2011 when he took a 4-shot lead into the final round there, but blew up catastrophically to finish in a tie for 15th. That remains his best finish at Augusta. Jason Day, really a horse for a course, because in the last 3 Masters, he's only played in 2 of them, but he's finished in the top 3 both times. So if you're looking for someone with the pedigree on that course, you'd be looking at the Aussies, right?
Well, I think so. The golf course has changed over the years. The golf course has become a lot longer. There's much more of a premium on driving the ball long and straight at Augusta National than there was, let's say, 10 to 12 years ago. So you're seeing those familiar types of players coming through, albeit that we have had some winners like Zach Johnson, who was more of a renowned as a wedge player and a putter. But, these big players, high speed, pitch the ball a long way, and whenever they get their putting boots on, that's when you can see them performing and see them winning. So, Jason Day and Adam Scott have got to be two of the favourites for the tournament, and it'll be very interesting to see how they get on Thursday, Friday. And we talk a lot about these players such as Phil Mickelson, how they can position themselves for the event, because there's a lot of players in that era, Lee Westwood, Mickelson, who, if they get themselves in with a chance to play, they can certainly provide us with maybe a surprise for the weekend.
Yeah, it's a course where it really favours local knowledge. We see year in, year out the likes of Angel Cabrera last year, who made the playoff against Adam Scott. Doesn't really feature that much in the regular tour events, but he knows that course. He's won there before. Phil Mickelson, a classic example. No one has a better record over the last 10 years at Augusta National than Phil Mickelson. He's won 3 green jackets, 2004, 2006 and 2010, where he broke Lee Westwood's heart, JP. He always contends, doesn't he? And he's the Open champion. Now, he hasn't shown much form this year. Again, a man with his own injury problems as well, but you can't rule him out. You can't write off Phil.
No, it's been interesting. This really seems to be the year where the injured, high-speed, rotational golfer is being talked about an awful lot. And Phil, I believe, has a problem with his oblique. That's going to diminish the amount that he can rotate and certainly give him some discomfort. But as a great champion and somebody who knows the golf course, and we've seen him put players away, when Westwood was going so well, he hit that unbelievable shot on 13. Phil just wants to get in and around, sniff of the action Sunday night, Saturday night, Sunday, back 9, and see if he can give himself a chance to win it.
Yeah, that if he does get into contention, he will be certainly a heavy favourite to close out and win a 4th green jacket, a 6th major championship. What a story that would be. Looking at some of the other names, we have to consider the man who finished on fire last year in 2013, won the FedEx Cup playoffs, I should say, and the DP World Tour Championship to win the race to Dubai. Henrik Stenson, the world number 3, the Swede, doesn't have a brilliant track record at Augusta, JP, but again, when you pair him with someone like Dustin Johnson, a similar kind of power player, very dynamic, when they play well, when things click for them, they just run away from fields, don't they? As we saw with Henrik in Dubai and Dustin back in China last year.
Well, there's no doubt that Henrik, the way he played at the back end of last year, he was the best golfer on the planet. The nuances of Augusta for guys like Henrik and Dustin to some degree as well, and the subtleties around the green, the subtleties on the greens, I think they're sometimes the stumbling blocks that these very high-speed players fall into. But we saw with Henrik last year, a real kind of coming of age with maturity around about his entire game, his pitching, his chipping, his putting, everything was fantastic. So, he had an equipment change. He's had some issues coming back to a little bit of form more recently, and Dustin as well has played just so well the last 5 to 6 months. So I wouldn't be surprised to see either of those two go well at the tournament.
Absolutely, yeah. If you look at the PGA Tour season so far specifically, it's really been a year where the young guns have emerged in fine style. We've seen Jordan Spieth play so well towards the tail end of last year. We've seen Victor Dubuisson, the Frenchman, make the Accenture World match play final, playing some thrilling golf. And we've seen the likes of Patrick Reed, who's been making some incredibly cocksure and very confident comments. Some might call it arrogant, saying that he's a top 5 player in the world. I think he's 23rd or something. So he obviously hasn't been looking at the world rankings that closely, but you've got to have that kind of confidence. Can some of these young upstarts, upset the status quo, JP? Would you expect to see anyone from that kind of ilk do well at Augusta, or is it a course that really doesn't favour rookies?
Well, it's not really a golf course that favours rookies because there's so many different little lines. I'm going there for my first time, and I've heard so much about it from Claude and from Butch through the years. So it is a golf course seemingly that is learnt. You mentioned Cabrera, we mentioned Mickelson. However, guys like Jordan Spieth, Patrick Reed, Victor Dubuisson, we saw him do amazing things in the match play. These guys aren't afraid anymore. And the thing is, if it's their week, they're going to really, really go at it. And those are sometimes the players that you find that, can get in and around about the mix and potentially they will befall some misfortune coming down the stretch because they're not exactly sure exactly how to deal with it all. But I think in Jordan Spieth, you've got a real champion for the future. I think Patrick Reed, obviously a very high opinion of himself. And as you say, you do need that. And some of the European players, Dubuisson has been playing very well. Jamie Donaldson has been playing very well. Fabulous iron player. These are some other players we might see do well this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking with the 1994 champion. 20 years ago, he won his first green jacket, Jose Maria Olazabal, and he was explaining why Augusta is such a difficult course for rookies. He was saying that on the PGA Tour, these guys are so aggressive now. They go out, they fire at all the pins. They don't really have a second or third gear. It's flat out all the way. But Augusta, JP, it presents a different challenge and a different proposition. You can't fire at all the pins. You will be burnt alive out there. You have to know when to be cautious and then when to turn on the afterburners and go for it, perhaps on those par fives at the back nine. Where for you is the Masters won and lost?
I think the Masters is won and lost really off the tee and on the greens. You know, you look at the best players now, they're able to get the golf ball shaping the way they want to get it. They're able to, as you say, get to the par fives and two. The best players do not have many three putts through the week. Some of the players who are showing form, they will start to lose some of that form on the greens. So I think off the tee and on the greens. But having said that, when you think of the iron shots, you know, Claude and I would talk an awful lot about some of the different lines that you have to take to try and get the golf ball close to the hole. You were talking about your young players being able to commit to aiming 20 yards offline sometimes and being able to know that the golf ball's going to feed from different areas. There's an awful lot to that golf course.
Yeah, we're used to seeing such familiar names on the leaderboard, the Tiger Woodses, the Phil Mickelson. One gets the suspicion that perhaps that won't be so much the case this year. It feels like a wide open tournament, but I'm going to ask Justin nevertheless for his predictions, and I'm going to put him on the spot now. JP, if you had to pick a winner and someone that you fancy to do well, perhaps a dark horse, who would you be going for?
I think Jason Day, you know, Jason's had a fabulous record at Augusta thus far. He's never quite closed it out. The Australians have now broken their duck at Augusta from Adam Scott last year, so I would pick Jason Day as my favourite. Matt Kuchar's another player who's played very, very well over the last, you know, really 3 to 4 years. We're used to seeing that one plane golf swing of his. Very, very good putter, very confident, a real world player. So he would be my dark horse, with Jason Day being my favourite.
Well, I'm going to go with another Aussie just to keep the theme going. I think Adam Scott is going to be the first man to defend his green jacket since Tiger Woods managed to do so in 2002 following that Tiger Slam in 2001. I think Adam, JP, if you look at his last 8 major championship performances, 4 top 5s, another top 10, he's so consistent. Such a big tournament player now. He's obviously got the confidence with the putter, the broom handle putter. His golf swing is looking as good as it ever has. Yes, he failed to close out at Bay Hill, but he did shoot 62, which was a tied course record there. So we know he's in pretty good nick. I'm pretty sure he's going to be doing everything he can to peak for the Masters. As a dark horse, I'll go with another former winner. I'll go with Zach Johnson, the 2007 champion. Won it during a year where perhaps the conditions were very favourable to him. He didn't go for any of the par fives in 2, and he really managed his game very well. But you can't count against these real, you could call them plodders, I suppose, but they're excellent players. Zach, incredible putter, fantastic short game, and we know you need a great short game round Augusta. So, JP, you're off to the tournament. You're going just a little later tonight, and you're going to be taking in your first Masters. Excited about it?
Extremely excited. I can't wait to be there. I've watched it. Remember watching Nick Faldo beat Ray Floyd in a playoff way back in the early part of the 90s, even late 80s. So I can't wait to get out there.
Absolutely. Well, that's it from myself and Justin Parsons here at the Butch Harmon School of Golf. It's the Masters, and it's just about as wide open as ever.